All around us, in every part of the UK, are skilled teams of eagle-eyed men and women, working alongside the police to keep us safe. They're the people on the front line, tackling the hazards that place us in danger.
As a family, life is so different. It's just absolutely heartbreaking just to know that he's not here.
They're cracking down on those who threaten our families.
My mum was getting somewhere in the region of 30 scam letters delivered every day.
They're protecting us from new dangers that lurk online.
As soon as I transferred the money and I saw my account say zero, I knew.
These men and women make up the UK's enforcement teams, our defenders. Today, the eye in the sky. Our defenders have a persistent fly tipper in their sights.
The pictures paint 1,000 words. You can clearly see the activities and identify who's undertaking the activities.
Our defenders lock up a solar panel con man cashing in on families trying to cut their energy bills.
People like that shouldn't be allowed ever to run a company and should be made to face every single person that they affected.
And how one woman turns defender to expose the true scale of letterbox scams.
There were so many emails coming in. This is happening to my mum, this is happening to my dad.
This is Jessica Luke, aged 80.
Place your money bag, that's that.
Yeah.
Sticker here if you've been specially selected to receive one, and I've been selected to receive one.
Over 5 years, Jessica was bombarded with scam mail.
Here is just some of the mail that my mother's been receiving. Everyone is asking for money.
In total, Jessica received 30,000 scam letters and was conned out of an estimated £50,000. As far as Jessica's daughter, Marilyn Baldwin, is concerned, if it could happen to her mum, it could happen to almost anyone's elderly parent.
My mum wasn't diagnosed with any mental health incapacity. I didn't see her as a vulnerable person. She was independent, she was sociable, she was keeping a house and herself immaculately.
Looking back, Marilyn can recall how it all started.
My mum was in her late 70s when she received the first scam letter. It was a letter that told her she won a competition, a lottery from Australia, and to claim a prize, all she needed to do was send off a small fee. My mother believed this, and before we knew what had happened, she sent off the money.
That was just the beginning.
Of course, when she told us what she'd done, we obviously knew it was a scam, and we tried to convince her, but it was too late. And then the whole thing just escalated, and she got inundated with more scam letters and scam phone calls.
Jessica was now on what's known as a suckers list. Over the next 5 years, she'd be ruthlessly targeted.
Her name was put on a list, which was circulated to other scammers all over the world, and basically she got inundated with scam mail.
Sarah Smith leads a shared regulatory services team, combating scams in South Wales.
Mail scams still continue to be a problem, and you know, the so-called suckers list are still shared. They're bought and sold for people who are responding to scams or who may be susceptible. These are innocent victims at the end of the day, but as soon as they've responded to one scam, they're on a mailing list, and those details are bought and shared just so they can be repeatedly targeted.
Did you say they want you to go?
I've got to go, but it's an invite to Australia. And who would have come to me?
What do they want you to go to Australia for?
For the award. They would present me with the award.
Jessica was receiving up to 30 scam letters a day and countless phone calls, all promising big cash prizes.
This is just a small sample of the kind of mail that my mum was receiving. This one, for example, here, it's got written on it, she's in the prize notification, signed by the directors' committee, telling her that she's won an instant payment of £15,500. They were supposedly coming from presidents of lottery companies, banks, solicitors, and they all had different reasons why she'd got to pay money. The solicitors told her that they were administration fees. The banks told her she needed to pay money to release her winnings. And it just went on and on and on.
Some of the scam letters looked official. Others were personal and friendly.
Some of the letters were supposedly from clairvoyants, and they told her that they were her friends and that they knew she'd got this money coming towards her just to keep her safe. They wanted money from her as well. Important, what you decide in the next 5 minutes will determine your future.
How much did they want?
20.
I was angry that this was being allowed to come through the UK postal system and nobody was intercepting it. Older and more trusting people like my mother are going to believe this.
The scammers built a relationship with Jessica and seemed to have a strong hold over her.
Even though we tried to convince my mum that this was all a scam, it was impossible. They were literally brainwashing my mother.
Do you think you've won on this one?
I know I've won it.
How sure are you?
I'm 100% sure with that. 100%.
That on the 16th you'll get your money?
Yes, definitely. 100% I've won that.
No matter what we said, my mother just would not believe that this was all a scam.
You think I'm a nutcase? I'm not. I've been doing it too long, and I've only had documents to meet this last two.
This delusional world became her reality. Basically, it was all she was thinking about.
Sylvia Rook is the lead officer for fair trading at the Chartered Trading Standards Institute.
I think the sad thing is that once this grows in the elderly person's mind, it becomes completely real. They are completely convinced that they're going to win the money, and it's only the next one is going to be the one that's going to get them their big prize. And when somebody, usually a family member, tells them this is not true, they don't believe it. They just cannot hear that. And yes, to try and tell somebody you are being conned, they just don't hear it.
By now, Jessica was sending off most of her pension, leaving herself just a few pounds to live on.
She was sending cash, she was taking out loans. Basically, she was sending everything she'd got. She was often struggling for money for food and to pay bills. She'd often ask me if I could give her some money to send, which obviously resulted in an argument.
But the problem is, every time it keeps making us fall out, and I don't want to fall out with you. But when I tell you it's not true...
I know, but you made me ill, and I got really depressed.
I contacted her bank, I went to the police. I tried to get the mail stopped from going through a letterbox, but without her consent, I couldn't do that.
It's taking over your life. I mean, you're upsetting me by doing it, because I don't want to see you keep sending your money off
Well,
every
don't
week.
bother about me upsetting you. Think about me being upset when I haven't got much of my life left.
3 years after this video was shot, Jessica passed away. Marilyn believes the stress caused by a constant barrage of scam mail finally took its toll. Later, Marilyn turns defender, determined to put a stop to letterbox scams.
I think we've got to keep going with this. I don't think it's something we can pick up and put down, because scams are forever increasing and the variations of every scam is always changing.
Fly tipping is an eyesore and can be a serious risk to the environment. Which is why our defenders are determined to get the hard evidence they need to bring the culprits to justice. Like the driver of this lorry, caught on camera dumping 20 tons of waste on the public highway.
It's a top-end job for the fly tip team. This is industrial scale criminal activity, so it's a big job.
Thanks to this CCTV footage, the offender was identified and given an 8-month jail sentence. This motorist was captured by a covert camera dumping rubbish in a lay-by. He was identified and his car was impounded.
We are going to be seizing the vehicle.
When, today?
Now, right now.
No, you can't do that.
We are going to seize the vehicle for the fly tipping offences that's taken place.
Kev Knight is a senior environmental crime officer working on a special multi-agency unit set up to tackle waste crime.
The best evidence can be anything from photographs, from CCTV from people's houses, it could be video on their mobile phone, but even just a description of the number plate on a vehicle or even the signage on the side of a vehicle can really help us track down which vehicle or company are involved in this type of offence.
But getting evidence this good is difficult, especially in remote areas. Wiltshire is a large, mainly rural county in southwest England. Protecting areas like this from fly tippers is a challenge.
Fly tipping can be a real issue in Wiltshire because of the rural nature. There are lots of secluded places where people can find to fly tip their waste.
Stephanie Marriott is a senior enforcement officer for the Environment Agency.
Without the public's help, it would be a lot harder to catch fly tippers because they can be our eyes and ears with everything.
Stephanie is our defender.
We get lots of reports from various sources. It can be people out walking their dogs. It could be people out who are out on a day trip and see something that doesn't look quite right, or they blatantly see some fly tipping.
In November 2021, local enforcement officers got a tip-off. This time, not from someone walking their dog, but from a most unexpected source. The Ministry of Defence. A Royal Navy Wildcat helicopter had been on a routine exercise, hovering thousands of feet over Wiltshire, when the pilot spotted a plume of smoke.
We got a tip-off from the MOD. They'd been doing a flyover and they'd obviously just seen something that didn't look right.
The smoke was coming from a pile of rubbish dumped next to a canal. The culprit was still at the scene.
On military helicopters, it's high-quality military-grade camera equipment, so it's high-definition video, so you can see a lot of details from the offenders and their vehicles, vehicle registration numbers, and information like that that is really useful.
The fly tipper could be seen unloading a mattress and other waste from a white van, then setting it alight. He had no idea his every move was being captured.
When I saw the footage, first of all, I was completely shocked at how blatant this gentleman was. Although he appeared to be in the middle of a field, he had a complete disregard for the environment. You can see the type of material that he's dealing with and burning, that's leaching into the ground, and it's a groundwater-fed environment around here. So that will and can go and will go into the groundwater and then eventually get into our drinking waters.
Wiltshire Council, assisted by the Environment Agency, launched an investigation. With such great evidence, the hope was our defenders would quickly have the culprit in their sights. Later, a shocking discovery. The fly-tipping offender is running what looks like a legitimate waste business, backed by the Environment Agency.
He would go and collect waste from members of the public. He would take payment for that waste collection and disposal, and then just take it to a secluded location and tip it.
Solar panels are good for the environment, and over time, they can knock thousands off your energy bill. Getting them installed sounds like a win-win. But that isn't always the case. Rob Hooper and his partner were expecting their first child when they moved into their new 3-bed semi in Torbay, Devon.
Our son was due and needed a bigger property with expanding and everything else like that. You have a family, you're settling down, got the birth of your first child, you want to sort of make everything right, nice and homely.
With a young family to support, Rob thought investing in solar panels might be a good way to cut his energy bills.
In my previous property, I was really south-facing. It was a flat, massive, great opportunity there. And I did think about it, but at the time I didn't have the revenue to go ahead with something like that. So when I moved into this place, we were pretty much south-facing. It looked a good option.
Rob did his research and decided to go with a local company, Intelligent Solar Limited. First impressions were good.
They seemed to be quite customer-focused. I had quite a good dealings with the salesperson at the time that came around to the property. It seemed to be all very good, price-wise, better priced than other people around the area.
The company said it was registered with the government's feed-in tariff scheme, meaning Rob could sell unused energy back to the national grid, saving a massive £850 a year.
When he did his calculations, he was doing it off of an iPhone, and I said, "Are you sure this is all true?" and everything else, and I was assured that it all was.
Rob even managed to negotiate a £500 discount on installation costs.
At the time, I felt quite happy that that £500 saving was going to be a real bonus for me.
But it was the thought of saving £850 a year on energy costs that really clinched the deal for Rob. Sarah Smith leads a trading standards team, investigating rogue trading and scams across South Wales.
Fraudsters will try to exploit perhaps the weakness, and the weakness in these cases is everyone's worried about their energy bills and how they're going to afford them. So the thought or the promise of you're going to save in the long run, you're not going to have to pay as much for your energy, obviously people will be interested in that.
Rob decided to go ahead. Total cost, £7,000 with half to be paid up front.
That £7,000 was for 12 panels to be fitted to the property. I didn't get masses of information. Because I'd never dealt with a company having the solar panels, I didn't know what to expect. But the only actual information I received was my initial contract with them.
It was only when the panels were being fitted that things started to go wrong.
The surveyor had come out. The surveyor had done her plan of what was going to be done. I didn't see it until the guys came out, the installers, to fit it. When they came out, the surveyor's plans were 6 panels on the front of the house and 6 panels on the rear of the house.
But the panels were badly fitted. They were not flush to the roof. Tiles were broken, and some of them were in the wrong position and wouldn't see much sun.
I pointed out that how would my projections take place, because in the afternoon when the panels on the rear were in shade, it wouldn't work. So we had a halted installation at that point.
Rob complained to the boss of Intelligent Solar Limited, Mark McCracken.
I said that I wasn't happy and everything else. They obviously wanted the remaining money from me, so he was quite happy to get another installation team to come up and rectify all the errors and get this system up and running. When they came up, I spoke to the gentleman. He highlighted all the errors that were done incorrectly, and he filled me with quite a lot of confidence, Dan, and I thought, you know, this is going to get sorted out.
A few weeks later, the job was finished. Rob was given a unit which would flash green when the panels were producing energy. At first, it looked promising.
At the time they were installed, it was December, so I wasn't getting as much, but at some point during the day, the light did go green. So I felt quite happy in what I was told, that the panels were working and producing me electric.
But by spring, Rob realised something was wrong. The sun was shining, but the panels weren't producing enough energy to power his home, let alone any extra to sell back to the grid.
I was having a few concerns with the panels and the whole system. It didn't seem to be generating nowhere near as much. Prior to the electric costs going up, I was still paying £130 a month for gas and electric to run the property.
Rob contacted Intelligent Solar Limited again, and this time got through to the office manager.
She said, "We've spoken to the directors, we can't help you, goodbye." I'm not necessarily impatient, but I did think that a company like this should, after taking £7,000 off me, be getting back to me. When I phoned them up and I had the very abrupt phone call and hung up, I really did feel anger. I was really annoyed.
By now, Intelligent Solar Limited was the subject of a fraud investigation. The £850 a year saving Rob had been expecting was a complete fantasy. The whole thing was an elaborate con.
I really did feel bad. The money I thought that I'd paid in as an investment was not necessarily wasted, but it wasn't going to be a return. I would have been better off putting the money under my mattress.
Later, scores of unhappy customers contact our defenders as the net closes on Intelligent Solar Limited.
The driving force behind the company was to bring in as much money as possible. This was a money-driven operation in which the cash cow was the consumer.
Earlier, a Royal Navy Wildcat helicopter caught a fly tipper dumping rubbish in a remote location, then setting it alight.
When I saw the footage, first of all, I was completely shocked at how blatant this gentleman was.
Wiltshire Council launched an immediate investigation.
We have a zero-tolerance approach to this. We take it very seriously in terms of the costs experienced of the taxpayer to clean up and also the environmental damage. We need the team here as quick as possible to investigate this.
Despite that, it isn't always easy to get sufficient evidence to take a fly tipper to court. Mark McClelland is Wiltshire Council's Cabinet Member for Waste.
It can be very difficult, and unless there's someone seen a person in the act of doing it, it's very difficult to bring a prosecution. So we're very reliant on the public and cooperation with the public. They're our eyes and ears on this, and we need to work with them in collaboration to tackle this, this issue that blights our communities.
The council actively encourages people to tip them off if they see someone dumping rubbish illegally.
There's a whole range of different methods that people can use to report these things to us, and we also have an incentive scheme for people to report fly tipping incidents where we would give the public up to £200 in vouchers if the information that they provide is used in the prosecution, or a fixed penalty notice for someone found guilty of it. We're not saying people are going to make their millions from reporting fly tipping incidents, but it's that, a couple of £100 is an incentive for people to take this seriously.
There's a huge issue across the country for fly tipping that the local authorities have got to tackle and deal with, and they deal with it on a daily basis. The work we're doing really protects the environment, and it's really important that we carry on doing that, and we need the public's help to keep informing us of what is going on out there.
In this case, identifying the offender was straightforward, thanks to the quality of the footage. The man in the frame was Corey Ross Carr, a known fly tipper.
This was the best military hardware being used to catch this guy, so I mean it was brilliant that we were able to utilise that. They have very high definition cameras, they were able to take a shot of the number plate of the vehicle involved and were very easily able to identify the individual concerned.
Carr was already under investigation for illegally dumping household waste and was well known to the council's fly tipping team.
When the team saw the footage they received from the MOD, they immediately knew that it was the individual concerned, Mr. Carr. From their previous experience, there have been other incidents where Mr. Carr had been involved.
Carr operated a waste clearance business, which he advertised on social media. It looked a genuine service, but it wasn't.
Corey Carr, under his business, claimed that he'd been fully audited by the Environment Agency, which would give the impression that he was legitimate.
His customers thought he was dumping the waste at an authorised site, but instead, he was fly tipping.
All he had done was registered to be a waste carrier and paid his fee to be a registered waste carrier. He would go and collect waste from members of the public. He would take payment for that waste collection and disposal and then just take it to a secluded location and tip it.
Investigators at Wiltshire Council questioned Carr and showed him the footage from the helicopter. He'd also been linked to other fly tips in the same area.
After he was being questioned, there was no way he could deny it was him. He admitted under interview that he'd been disposing of waste illegally at the site outside Melksham, where the smoke had been seen rising for 6 months. So there was a long track record of illegal activity, which made it much easier to bring the case against him.
When you get a golden nugget like that with someone with really quick thinking, like this helicopter pilot in this case, you know, to be able to record and produce that sort of evidence is just amazing as an investigator.
Carr pleaded guilty to 4 environmental offences. He also admitted making false claims that his business was fully audited by the Environment Agency. He was fined £1,295 and was told he'd lose his waste carrier licence.
We don't want them in the business. They give a bad name to reputable companies who are doing the correct thing. In court, there was no other option than to plead guilty with that evidence that we produced. Having a criminal conviction against his name with regards to waste activities, it means that we can then assess any applications if he was to ever apply for a permit or a waste carrier's registration in the future.
The footage from the MOD helicopter had been crucial to putting this waste criminal out of business.
The pictures paint 1,000 words. You can clearly see the activities and identify who's undertaking the activities, as well as the vehicles being used. I'd like to say a big thank you to the pilot and keep doing what you're doing. If you see any more, please report it and send it in. Potentially, there's an address here.
The Environment Agency, working alongside local authorities, is continuing its crackdown on those who blight our countryside.
I found a fly tip, I've identified it. There's some paperwork in it.
The most persistent offenders are being taken to court and punished.
Yep, got evidence bags, so I'll pop those in an evidence bag.
Wiltshire Council has reported a 20% fall in the number of fly tipping incidents. A great result for our defenders.
For people dumping waste in Wiltshire, it's not worth it. We will try and catch you. We work closely with the local authority and the police. Nobody wants to see this type of illegal activity. It mars the countryside, and we will put our best efforts into catching you.
Here is just some of the mail that my mother's been receiving. Everyone is asking for money.
Earlier, we saw how Jessica, at the age of 80, was bombarded by scam mail and lost an estimated £50,000.
Even though we tried to convince my mum that this was all a scam, it was impossible. They were literally brainwashing my mother.
Jessica's daughter Marilyn was determined to stop other families falling victim to the same scam.
After my mother died, I was very angry that this had been allowed to happen. Why wasn't something being done?
Marilyn launched a one-woman campaign called Think Jessica.
Hello, Think Jessica.
The aim was to raise awareness and to stop letters like these reaching their intended targets.
I first went to the local newspaper and from there it escalated.
A succession of national TV and radio interviews followed.
There were so many emails coming in. This is happening to my mum, this is happening to my dad, my aunt, my granddad. The amount of people that were suffering, and it was silent, they were out there, but nobody knew, because like me, they'd all been going round in circles trying to find help.
A poster campaign was launched at railway stations, shopping centres and supermarkets.
The first one I did was Scam Mail is Blackmail, which was a very powerful poster, and that seemed to work. So then I carried on with more powerful posters. I did Silence of the Scams, Scam Trap, and people became interested. Apart from the national poster campaigns, I would go around the country giving talks. I met with ministers, MPs, I spoke at the House of Commons, at the committee room. It was a full-time job.
Think Jessica is an amazing campaign. What it's doing is it's educating enforcers, elderly people and the families to know what to look for. So if you see that a family member is starting to receive huge amounts of post, or they want to keep going out to the post office to post things or to get postal orders or whatever, it helps you to recognise these scams and gives you useful tips on how to deal with them.
Following the campaign, the Royal Mail took steps to stop scam letters getting through.
It's not completely gone. I mean, there's still scam mail coming through, but there's a massive improvement of the amount of scam mail that's getting into the UK.
We've seen previously how the criminals behind these scams have responded by making scam mail harder to spot. Louise Baxter is the head of the National Trading Standards Scams team.
What we're seeing now is more plain envelopes, not always with a franking mark either, sometimes with a stamp. Within the letters, they will use personal name, so your first name, so it feels like it's written directly to you. So they'll look official, but they will always ask you for something to receive something.
Place your money back, that's that.
Yeah.
Sticker here if you've been specially selected to receive one and now been selected to receive it.
Do you think you've won on this one?
I know I've won it.
How sure are you?
I'm 100% sure with that. 100%.
That on the 16th you'll get your money?
Yes, definitely. 100% I've won that.
Jessica's experience wasn't an isolated one. There have been many victims. But our defenders are determined to crack down on the people behind these scams.
They are criminals who are targeting older people in our communities to groom them and then to traffic their personal details from OCG, from organised crime group to organised crime group, to ensure they can extract as much money from them as they possibly can.
Marilyn is continuing her work and has produced a booklet called Don't Fall for a Scam. It focuses on a variety of different types of scams.
I wanted to get information out there that they could physically hold, look at, easy to read, easy to remember, and be forewarned.
The booklet has been distributed to thousands of homes by police forces across England and Wales.
We've tried to make this look as bright and as interesting as possible, and it's just very simply put across. And I think by using that sort of basic, simple way of explanation, people will actually pick it up and have a look through it. It's had really excellent feedback, and I'm really pleased with the way that that's been received. I think we've got to keep going with this. I don't think it's something we can pick up and put down, because scams are forever increasing, and the variations of every scam is always changing.
For our defenders, the fight goes on. Marilyn has received an OBE for the campaigning work she's done, educating and protecting the elderly and vulnerable from scams like these.
Since my mother's incident with the scams, I feel very angry towards the scammers, and I feel like I'm at war with the scammers, so I will definitely keep going.
Earlier, Rob Hooper paid thousands of pounds for solar panels. They were supposed to cut his energy bills and, in the long run, make him money. But he was ripped off.
I really did feel anger. I was really annoyed. I would have been better off putting the money under my mattress.
Rob wasn't alone. Scores of people contacted Heart of Southwest Trading Standards, complaining about Intelligent Solar Limited.
Intelligent Solar Limited were a company that arranged for the installation of solar panels during a period when solar panels were very much the rage.
Over a 2-year period, the company conned families out of tens of thousands of pounds.
Most of the consumers have been left well out of pocket. They've had to have either their solar panels redone, or they're finding that they're not obtaining the kind of rewards they were looking for.
When they asked for a refund, they were fobbed off. Steve Gardner is our defender. At first glance, Intelligent Solar Limited looked slick and professional.
You'd be smiling all the way to the bank at the same time as cutting your CO2 emissions.
But that was all an illusion. It was a cowboy company run by crooked businessman Mark McCracken.
Well, although he didn't appear on paperwork, Mark McCracken was the primary force behind Intelligent Solar.
McCracken was an undischarged bankrupt. His previous solar panel company had been forced out of business by a barrage of customer complaints. Now, he was at it again.
This was more than recklessness. This was a deliberate fraud.
Steve's team needed concrete evidence to prove the company was a scam and that McCracken was the driving force.
We needed to obtain as much information as we could looking at their business records. The way to do that would be to get a warrant to enter their premises and look at what they had.
The warrant was granted, and on May the 4th, 2017, Trading Standards officers entered and searched the premises.
We were looking basically for evidence of who was in control of the business. That was one of the key factors that we were interested in.
Steve's team photographed evidence and seized documents, including order forms, checkbooks, and, crucially, McCracken's mobile phone.
And they won't ever find anything because we're 100% down the line.
Text messages on the phone provided key evidence.
We found that he gave instructions to sales staff about techniques they might use to close a deal and get a customer to agree to the installation. That information was damning because he took the point of view that he was not a director of the company. That was what he told us, but it was clear to us that he was actually the controlling mind behind the business. And it clearly pointed towards the fraudulent intent of Mr. McCracken and his role in the company.
The next step was to call in an expert to examine the solar panels installed by McCracken's team.
What we found was that while the solar panels themselves were by and large a reasonable quality, the installations varied wildly, and some of them possibly were even dangerous in the way that they'd been set up.
Many of them hadn't been fitted by registered installers. That meant the cash savings families had been promised could never be achieved.
What Intelligent Solar told consumers about the ability to get a feed-in tariff and to get panels to pay for themselves was a lie. That was never going to be the case.
In total, McCracken conned customers out of £53,000.
Mark McCracken had been involved in the solar panel business for quite many years. He was well aware of the rules around the installation of solar panels and the feed-in tariff.
Conmen will always have that very good upfront presentation. You know, they will have the talk, they'll have the spiel that's designed to convince and, you know, show people, make them believe that it's all legitimate and genuine.
After lengthy legal arguments, smooth-talking McCracken admitted deceiving customers. In March 2022, he finally faced justice.
The judge took a very dim view of Mr McCracken's involvement in particular, and he was sentenced to 30 months imprisonment, which is a very good result for us.
Office manager Paula McGarrell pleaded guilty to failing to refund deposits and got a suspended jail sentence. McCracken was banned from being a company director.
This was a long, hard, drawn-out case, and this was a successful outcome for us. The driving force behind the company was to bring in as much money as possible into the operation, which was then squandered by Mr McCracken and his associates. This was a money-driven operation, in which the cash cow was the consumer. I'm really proud of the efforts our team took to get this through the court process and to see McCarroll and McCracken sentenced. They worked long and hard and achieved a good result for the people of the Southwest in this case.
I think the way that Intelligent Solar acted is absolutely appalling. I think that they were very callous. People like that shouldn't be allowed ever to run a company and should be made to face every single person that they affected.
Rob is grateful for the tireless efforts of our defenders.
I was aware of trading standards. You know, we all hear about them, what they do and everything else like that, but never having had any personal input to them. I, like most people, just knew of them around. It's like the police, we know they're there, but we hope we never have to use them. Having seen the work that they do now and the depths that they must need to go into to do this stuff, I think that their service to the consumers out there is invaluable.
Across the UK, our defenders are out there. On the streets and in the air. Protecting our homes, our families, and all we hold dear.
You don't always see what goes on in the background. There are people that work long hours tackling this and, you know, painstaking work of taking statements and reviewing CCTV. You don't always see those people in these sort of programs, but they do some amazing work.
Find out about the rise and dramatic fall of Arif Naqvi. Press red to watch $1 billion downfall, The Dealmaker, on BBC iPlayer now. Or stick with me for Rip Off Britain next.
Get ready for this bumpy ride. It's gonna get real aggressive. I think you're